This is an orthokeratology case where the patient's starting prescription is mostly cylindrical. It's plano -3 in the right eye with the rule, and -75, -3 in the left eye also with the rule. This is the post-wear map for each eye after switching to an oval optic zone, lenses with oval optic zones. And one of the concerns was, especially in the right eye, there isn't a very good seal off here at the temporal and nasal quadrants. And I would say in this case it's probably okay if you figure that the patient is plano in this meridian. We're really not trying to mold that much in this direction anyway. So the fact that we are getting some seal off and some steepening here um, tells me we're probably inducing a little bit of hyperopia here, and I think that does show in the overrefraction, which is okay. But if we're not getting a solid connection between the vertical rings, I'm not too concerned because we're not really trying to shift too much tissue there anyway. In the left eye, there was a little bit of myopia in addition to the astigmatism, and so we are getting some shifting here, which I think is great. The other problem was that we're just not correcting enough of the cylinder component. The zones look great. They're central, and you've definitely molded out quite a bit of the cylinder already. And if we bring up the lens for the right eye, this is the most recent lens. This lens does have an oval optic zone. And if we look at the powers, we're at about a 3.5 vertically and 1.5 horizontally. So we've got a differential of about 2 diopters. And if the patient has 3 diopters in the prescription, I would make that differential a little bit greater. So again, in this horizontal meridian, there's not a whole lot of power, and so we can probably reduce this demand. And I would drop this down, maybe 3/4 of a diopter or even a diopter in 50% mode. Excuse me, since we're using oval zones. So if we just steepen the base curve at about a 50 here, and then here we will flatten the base curve, and now we're at a 4. So now the differential between the vertical and the horizontal is about 3.5 diopters. Oftentimes with oval optic zones, you're not able to mold at a 1-to-1 relationship, but this does give you more of a differential between the perpendicular meridians, and that should take care of a little bit more cylinder. This may reduce the plus sphere component of the post-wear refraction, but if we can get rid of the cylinder and leave the sphere at plano, then that should take care of the patient's vision as well. For the left eye, I did not receive the most recent lens, but I would use the same principles. Excuse me. I think the placement of your OZ and IC points are fine. I think we're working at a 5, 4, and 6, and then a 6 and a 6. So I would do the same thing in the left eye. And I would also aim for a differential between the vertical and horizontal of about 3.5 to 4 diopters. In the left eye, because there is a little bit of myopia, we do need this horizontal demand here to be a little bit more than 0.5. I would bump that up to maybe a 1.0, and so your complementary demand in the vertical would be about a 4.5. So everything's just a half diopter flatter or half diopter more demand relative to the right eye. So I think you're definitely on the right track. You've gotten a pretty good result on what I would consider a very challenging case. And hopefully this video will help a little bit more. And best of luck with this patient.